They say not all that glitters is gold, but some people must touch the fire to believe it burns. What looks like victory can be a trap. What feels like loss can be freedom in disguise, and what is taken in haste often carries hidden weight. Because this is not just a story of love and betrayal, it is a story of wisdom, consequences, and a woman who discovered that what left her life was never her blessing to begin with. Listen closely. The elders are about to speak.
In the village of Umudike, where red earth clung to bare feet and the wind carried secrets faster than messengers, lived a woman named Nkiru. She was known for her calm eyes and quiet strength, the kind of woman who greeted hardship the way farmers greeted the dry season, with patience and resolve. Her husband, Obina, had once been admired, tall, persuasive, and gifted with a voice that could convince birds to land on his shoulders. But behind closed doors, Obina was a man whose words cut deeper than knives, whose promises dissolved like morning mist. Nkiru carried their marriage like a heavy calabash on her head, steady on the outside, cracking slowly within. Whispers followed Obina wherever he went, and soon they began to speak the name Amara, a woman whose laughter was loud and whose ambition burned brighter than village fires. Amara admired Obina openly, praising him in the market, defending him in gatherings, and slowly weaving herself into the spaces Nkiru no longer fought to protect. When the day came that Obina packed his clothes and walked out without shame, Amara stood at the edge of the compound, chin high, expecting tears and curses. But Nkiru only smiled, a soft, knowing smile that unsettled the wind itself. Amara wasted no time announcing her victory. Drums were beaten, palm wine flowed, and laughter echoed through Umudike as she moved Obina into her compound like a prized trophy. She wore bright wrappers and gold earrings, parading through the village with the confidence of someone who believed destiny had chosen her above all others. Women watched from doorways, some with envy, others with unease. For the elders always said a man taken in haste often carries hidden burdens. Obina basked in the attention, boasting of his freedom and mocking the quiet life he had left behind. Yet as weeks turned to months, the cracks began to show. Obina's charm gave way to restlessness, his laughter turned sharp, and his nights grew heavy with anger. He spent money carelessly, argued loudly, and blamed Amara for misfortunes he once blamed on Nkiru. Still, Amara told herself that endurance was the price of victory. She reminded herself that she had won, that Nkiru had lost, and that suffering was temporary. What she did not know was that she had not taken a crown, but a curse dressed as a man. Nkiru's life, meanwhile, unfolded like a slow healing. Without Obina's shadow darkening her mornings, her compound felt lighter, her breath deeper. She returned to her pottery, shaping clay with hands that remembered joy. Children lingered near her home again, drawn by her stories and warmth. The elders noticed her renewed glow and whispered that peace had finally found her doorstep. But at night, Nkiru dreamed of drums beating backwards and masks turning away from Obina's face. Strange things began happening in Amara's compound. Pots cracked without being touched, goats refused to eat, and shadows seemed to move when no one was walking. Obina fell ill repeatedly, his dreams filled with faceless figures accusing him of debts unpaid. Amara sought herbalists and prophets, but each visit ended the same way, with warnings spoken in riddles and fees demanded in fear. The ancestors of Umudike were awake, and they were not pleased. Amara's pride slowly transformed into desperation. She worked harder, prayed louder, and defended Obina more fiercely, even as his anger now turned physical, his words now poisoned with regret. He spoke of Nkiru often, not with love, but with bitterness, as though her calm haunted him. Amara began to realize that Obina had not left his past behind. He had dragged it into her house like a sack of rotten yams. One evening, after Obina stormed out following a brutal argument, Amara sat alone in the dark and wept, not for love, but for herself. The victory she had celebrated felt like a punishment she did not understand. She remembered Nkiru's smile, calm and unbothered, and for the first time, doubt crept in. What if she had not taken another woman's joy? What if she had taken her suffering instead? News travels fast in Umudike, and soon everyone knew that Amara's household was falling apart. Obina's business failed, his friends avoided him, and his voice, once so persuasive, now sounded empty. One afternoon, a public confrontation erupted in the marketplace when Obina accused Amara of ruining his life. People gathered, murmuring as Amara stood frozen, humiliated under the open sky. Across the market, Nkiru watched silently. She felt no triumph, no bitterness, only clarity. When Amara's eyes met hers, there was no hatred in Nkiru's gaze, only understanding. That look broke something inside Amara. She fled the market, leaving behind spilled goods and shattered pride, chased not by villagers, but by the truth she could no longer escape.
Obina eventually found his way back to Nkiru's compound, thinner, quieter, stripped of arrogance. He stood at her gate like a beggar, begging not just for forgiveness, but for restoration. He spoke of mistakes, of curses, of lessons learned too late. The knight listened as he spoke, but Nkiru did not open the door immediately. When she finally stepped out, her voice was steady. She told him that peace was not something to be broken and reassembled at will. She had rebuilt herself from ashes, and she would not return to the fire. Obina wept, but tears could not undo years of harm. Nkiru closed the gate gently, not in anger, but in finality. Amara, abandoned and disgraced, returned to her mother's village, carrying shame heavier than luggage. Nights were long, filled with echoes of laughter she once enjoyed and warnings she had ignored. She began to understand that desire without wisdom leads only to ruin. The elders there told her plainly, some battles are won by walking away, not by taking what does not belong to you. She thought often of Nkiru, not with envy now, but with awe. The strength to let go, the power of silence, the courage to choose peace over pride. Amara started again from nothing, learning humility the hard way. Each sunrise felt like punishment and blessing entwined. As time passed, balance returned to Umudike. The strange happenings ceased, the winds calmed, and the elders poured libation to thank the ancestors for restoring order. Nkiru's name was spoken with respect, not pity. She became a symbol, not of loss, but of wisdom. Children gathered at her feet in the evenings as she told stories of choices and consequences, of storms that pass and lessons that remain. She never spoke Obina's name, for some chapters are not meant to be reread. Her laughter returned, soft and genuine, echoing into the night. Years later, Amara returned briefly to Umudike, not to reclaim anything, but to apologize. She knelt before Nkiru, tears staining the earth, confessing that she had mistaken desire for destiny. The village watched in silence as Nkiru lifted her gently. It was then Nkiru spoke the words that would become legend. You didn't snatch my husband, you only snatched my problems. The words carried no cruelty, only truth. Amara wept harder, not from shame, but from release. To this day, elders tell his story when jealousy rises and hearts grow restless. They say some things are removed from your life not as punishment, but as protection. They say peace is louder than victory, and silence stronger than revenge. And when the wind passes through Umudike at dusk, it carries Nkiru's lessons softly through the trees. What leaves you may be saving you, and not every loss is truly a loss.
Before you go, tell us where you're watching from. Is it Nairobi, Cape Town, Lagos, Yaoundé, or another beautiful city? Drop your city in the comments and let's see how far this story has traveled.